local recording. Sound is back. All right, guys. So I'm just gonna start over real quick, like just for the recording for YouTube. Just real quick. Welcome to the episode of HexTCGPro. This is going to be almost the last episode we're going to do, right? Actually, yeah, this will be the last episode we do, right? Because next week, next
pre-alpha.
week.
Next week will be the last
sure.
one.
Okay, so next week will be the last one we do before we start doing actual, I don't know what you call them, official shows or whatever. So we're going to talk about the two preview cards we got this week. Mr. Shad submitted a deck for us to talk about. If you don't know who Shad is, he's the guy who did the Shaggy Bus card. So we'll be doing talking about that. And going over the different types of decks we think you guys should be playing for Alpha. So pretty cool little show today. Yeah, Shad is the man. He emailed me a deck list. We kind of took a look at it before the show, and we have a couple things to talk about. So that's pretty neat. So, Tana, do you have anything to talk about before we get into the show?
No, I think we can just jump right in.
Jump on in. Also, we are sorry that Charles and everyone isn't here. They all hate us. So again, I just want to apologize for that. Okay, so we'll get into the cards real quick. We'll start off with Phoenix Guard Trainer, because out of the two, I think he might be the closest to being playable. So here we go. The 3-drop 1 blue threshold 3/2 that says Inspire as another troop with cost equal to or greater than this troop cost enters play under your control. It gets permanent flight. So what do you think about that, John Sada?
It's a pretty average card. I don't think it'll be very good for constructed, like any sort of standard play. I think it's a pretty good limited card. Something to use in draft. But like again, that's something that time will tell. But the fact that it costs 3 and has Inspire, and if it costs 2, and maybe it was like a 1/2 or something, it'd probably be maybe a little better, or even a 2/2 or something. But 3 cost 3/2 with Inspire is just kind of mediocre. With just flight.
Yeah, I wish that it itself had flight. Maybe that would be something else they could have done to make it a little bit better. I think one thing that's kind of neat about the card though is it does give the card permanent flight.
Yeah, right.
So if this guy dies, your card still has flight. So that's something maybe to think of. It's something different. Like a Magic, this card would only give a card flight while it's in play or something. So that's something kind of different about the card. Razor, what is the difference between this show and the new show? The new show will be numbered.
Sure, yeah. It'll be the same show. It's just we'll have more things to talk about, and B, it'll be actually numbered better.
Yeah, it'll actually be numbered, so that's something we can keep track of it in our archives. So once we get famous, we can talk about the new shows. Okay, so that's it. Phoenix Guard Trainer, like you said, probably not very playable in standard, but possibly. Well, actually, I think it's a pretty good card in limited, right? Like if you're doing the Inspire really deck or whatever, like this guy's really good. Yeah, Invasion's really good in draft anyway, so this guy gives your whole team that, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the last card they previewed, which was the Daring Swordsman, which I don't like. I don't think it's very good, but we'll talk about him. 6-drop 1 ruby threshold 3/3. This troop deals double damage.
Yeah, again, this guy is another card that's bad and constructed. But in limited, I feel like he can be pretty good. If you play Magic, this guy has double strike. So, and this game, it's basically the same thing. It's just double strike. So 6 cost 3/3 double strike would be pretty decent Magic. At least in draft. And I think this game's no exception. I think it's a very good draft card.
Yeah, I think it's cool that he's only 1 ruby threshold too, so he's actually pretty easily splashable, which is pretty neat. I think though that the one thing I learned from this card is that it says this troop deals double damage, so that means they don't have a keyword for double strike yet.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of interesting. So I guess at least for the first set, we're not going to see any a lot of double strike creatures probably. So I'm sure that'll come in later, but that's something that I learned from the card at least. Yeah, so 6-drop 3/3, I think pretty underwhelming to standard. I cannot foresee this at all being playable.
Yeah,
even if you gave it somehow you could play it out and give it haste and give it a lot of life, it's still not that good because you could just chump block it. So I don't know. I just don't see any possible way of making this guy good unless you can play him out, give him haste, give him +10, and give him flying.
Yeah.
But you could do that if you could do that with any creature. So.
Yeah, something in draft you can give the guy flight somehow. If you're playing blue, you can give him steadfast. If you're playing diamond, to be able to attack and block with him. Just things like that. Like in standard, you would never actually do something like that. It doesn't seem like it'd be worth it. But in draft format, cards like that are already like fringe playable, so it'd be pretty good.
Yeah. Cool. So Daring Swordsman. That is the lowdown on that guy.
He is daring.
He is very daring. Very daring card.
So doesn't he have like a mustache or something too, or is he just really all covered up? He's
all covered up. That's actually Master of Head. That's a good. Let me pop him back up. You said, is it 2 attacks, or just 1 attack for double damage? Yes, it is just 1 attack for double damage.
Yeah, that's
so like very good point.
Wait, okay, it's not exactly like Double Strike, because Double Strike, the guy also had first strike, so he always dealt damage first. But this guy, he doesn't do damage first. He just does double the damage. But if he's unblocked, it's the same thing as Double Strike.
Sure. Razor, in an Inspire deck, he would be good with all the bonuses. Correct, he would be good with all the bonuses.
Absolutely.
The problem I have with that outlook of him is that you've already won when you've played Legionnaire. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but if you have all the creatures to buff him up by turn 6, then you're already winning, number 1. Number 2, you've already won because you played Legionnaire before him, which has just wiped your opponent's board and hit them for 4 or 5. So I think that he's okay. Sure, maybe with the Memorial and stuff like that, he could be good. But that's not really what I'd like to be in the Inspire deck. Me personally, I think he's obviously a good fit for that deck. But what do you think, John? Him in Inspire?
Yeah, I agree. He's very good in the Inspire deck, I feel like. But like Dusty's saying, I think you want to stop your curve at 5 with the Legionnaire. But maybe again, we're wrong. But we'll certainly see.
Oh, we'll definitely see. I can see me getting destroyed by this guy and being like, "Damn
sure,
you,
yeah,
damn you, Razor J, you had the right plan all along."
Yep.
All right. So moving on, we'll talk about a little bit about. You want to talk about Chad's deck next, and then go into the archetypes after that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me pop this up here. Got this new little fancy screen here where it has me and Sean's sexy faces while I go through the internet.
All right, and yes, he definitely has a mustache under his bandana, guaranteed. So if you're wondering,
Chad, whoop, my Gimp deck. I don't think it's going to be as bad as what you think, bub. All right, so starting off, the deck runs 3 pterodactyls. I'm going to say that 3 pterodactyls, 3 unstoppable walker, 4 buccaneers. Which, by the way, you had me on board when you put 4 buccaneers in the deck. I feel like whenever Alpha comes out, I actually just might make my screen name Buccaneer. Because I will be playing that card in every deck I can put him in.
The Shaggy Buccaneer.
The Shaggy Buccaneer. This guy actually kind of looks like me, to be honest with you. The Buccaneer. That's actually how I look, I feel like. I have the cool mustache. All the ladies want me. I can sword fight, basically.
Yes, absolutely, Dusty. That's exactly what you look like.
And here's what John looks like. He's this little bold dwarf guy. Technical for the Shaganeer. Here we go. Hey, Sean. Thanks for making it on the show, man. So we have 4 technical geniuses, 4 Sapper's Charge, which I really like. I love Sapper's Charge. I think that's another card I'll be playing a lot of. 3 menacing Groks. Is that right? Grok?
Yep. Menacing Grok.
Yeah. 4 Mirror Knights, which I know you think very highly of, John.
Yep.
4 Turreted Wall, which we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I don't like this card because it has the word defensive at it. 3 Charge Bots, 4 Inner Conflict, 16 Sapphire Sources, and 8 Diamond Sources. So, John, we'll let you kind of start out, bub, and talk about the Pterodactyl. What do you think about that? Well, actually, let's talk about the deck overall. What do you think about the deck overall?
I think it's a pretty good deck overall. I definitely, like the, flavor of it. The only thing that I really didn't care for was the fact that it's only playing Inner Conflict, along, with the champion, of course, is also, I guess, technically Diamond. But yeah, I just didn't care for only Inner Conflict. I think you want to play either more Diamond cards or just kind of, redesign the old deck.
Okay. All right. What do you think would be a better call or splash with the deck? Obviously, you want to keep blue, but
Sure, yeah. Ruby might not be the worst because then you could still play, dwarves, to make your Terabot cost less.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. like I actually like the turreted wall. I don't know if this was the deck for it, but I don't think it's a bad card. I like the unstoppable walker with the charge power kind of combo deal. I wish that the steadfast was permanent, but it's still, even for one turn to attack for 8 is pretty solid. Of course, Buccaneer's good. The Mirror Knight's really good. I love Mirror Knight. I think he's awesome in combination with Buccaneer, and of course the Terrabot.
The thing about Mirror Knight too is like I didn't notice the first time I looked at these cards is that these guys are getting this effect permanently.
Yeah, and plus Mirror Knight kind of works with the turreted wall too. So essentially it turns the wall into deal 1 damage, draw a card, like every turn.
Wow, does that count as combat damage?
It's not combat damage. I think Mirror Knight's just any damage, right?
It's combat damage.
No, okay, yeah, that doesn't work then.
That'd be awesome. Like that'd be really good. I'd really like turret wall then.
No, it's not combat damage. It says when this troop deals damage, draw a card.
Oh, you're right. How the hell did I misread that? I don't know. That's so weird.
You're bad.
It's probably your fault somehow. All right, so we talked about the pterodactyl. Also, I know we talked a little bit before the show. You were talking about One Eye's synergy with the unstoppable walker. Like the fact he can give that vigilance so it doesn't tap when it attacks. It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, a 5-drop 8/8 with vigilance is pretty terrifying.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Like I was saying though, it's only vigilance for 1 turn. So like every 3 turns you can do it. Or you get that 1 free attack with them might be enough to even win the game.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, for sure. I'm also so unfamiliar with a lot of cards. I'm going to get my ass kicked all throughout Alpha. Sure, man. No, that's going to be a learning experience with all of us. You know what I mean? Like there's still a lot of cards we haven't seen, so I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, Dusty will also be getting his ass kicked. So.
Yeah, Dusty Holster will definitely be getting his ass kicked. You're right. All right. So, any changes you make to the deck? Any things you would like to?
Let's see. I would like to either find a way to fit in more diamond cards or maybe play another color. I agree that Inner Conflict is very good. Like I really like that card. I just don't like the fact that there's only Inner Conflict and there's 8 diamond threshold lands. Like you only need 1, so any that you draw over 1 is kind of just wasted. So
yeah, I think that the deck looks maybe a little weak to. I'm trying to see, maybe a little weak to like aggro strategies. I'm trying to see. I don't know. Like they have sapper cards.
Maybe. I mean,
Turtle Wall is actually not bad against them.
Yeah, Turtle Wall is pretty sweet against them, and of course the Amir Knight's not bad against them. Anything that has 3 toughness is pretty good against.
Yeah, it is a 2/3.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess if you go like, what is Sapper's Charge? Yeah, Sapper's Charge into something into. Actually, even the Technical Genius is pretty good. A 1/3, like that's actually pretty hard for him to get through the early game.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Cool. I'm trying to think if there's any more. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to say about that I didn't.
Wait, that guy's a 1/3. He is a 1/3 now. Wow.
Yeah,
I just noticed that.
Yeah, that's actually really good. I thought he was like a 1/1.
Well, he was a 1/2. Like
he was a 1/2 in Gen Con, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was actually surprised when I saw that too. Chad, what do you think about Dragon Guard? Chad asks.
Dragon Guard. Which one is Dragon Guard?
Is it the one that let me check. I thought isn't it the one that puts a card on top? Either I spelled Dragon Guard wrong or I'm an idiot. What do you think of? Did you say Dragon Guard? I didn't see it now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm really unfamiliar with card names.
Me too.
So, can you link it in
Dragon. Well, that's because I'm searching only this deck. That's why. Dragon. Yeah. It's the guy who comes in and puts a card on top.
Oh, Captain of Dragon Guard. Okay, yeah. I like that guy. I mean, I know some people aren't too high on him, but like I definitely really like him. And I think in the first black-white deck that we built, I was playing 1 copy of him.
Yeah.
And I think that one or two copies of him is not a bad idea at all. And especially with the permanence of this game, if you get something like a permanent bonus and you bring it back, they keep it. So that really makes its value go up. So I'm pretty fan with them. Yeah, bring back Grolk or something. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. I actually like Grolk a lot. I actually think that card's pretty powerful. 5-drop come into play, 3/3 flyer that taps everything. Like sure. Sign me up. Plus, it's Sapphire, which is like sure, that's where I want to be anyway. It's a really good
Yeah.
card.
Yeah, like I think in this deck, like I might want to try to mess around playing like one Dragon Guard, see what happens. When you want to test cards, and you don't want to put 3 or 4 of them into your deck, like just playing one of just to see how they are when you draw them is a pretty good way to test cards out. Like without hurting the core of the deck.
Yeah, no, I do that all the time, especially in plays. Of course, we'll see that once we're starting in Alpha and you guys watch us play, but, I'll test 1 or 2. Well, you guys watch me play Hearthstone. I do the same thing at Hearthstone. I'll put, like, 1 copy of the card in and be like, was that good enough? I don't think so. Like, I'm out of here. Like,
Right.
well, or maybe, hey, that's pretty good. Let me try 1 more. It's really important to do that. Also, some of the questions in chat about the deck, I actually had to, like, reload the deck because it was, like, bugging up on me. Here we go. Do you think there's enough artifacts and dwarves to run the pterodactyl?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think there is enough. I disagree. I don't think there's enough to run it, which was one of my problems with the deck. I also think the deck might have too many 5-drops. How many 5-drops do we have in this deck? 3.
Well, you have to keep
6.
in mind though that the technical genius counts as 2 for the Terrabot. So I mean that's pretty good. So if you have like a genius
True.
out plus like a charge bot or a Zapper's charge, like he costs 4. I mean that's not
I guess it's a little
uncommon.
reasonable. I don't know. I think going red and maybe adding in a couple more dwarfs is probably the better bet for the deck. I just don't know what you would play. I don't know what you would take out. Like obviously take out Interconflict.
Yeah. I mean, but like the Terrabot is in this deck, it's essentially going to be like most of the time a 4-cost 3/4, and there's also going to be a large part of the time where you'll pay 3. I mean, it's not that uncommon, but I think 4 is going to be its average cost, and I think a 4-cost 3/4 flight is fine. Like it's pretty good.
Yeah. I'm not sure about Mirror Knight either. I like the Mirror Knight and Turret Wall combination, but I'm not sure.
I love that guy. Like I'll play around with that guy quite a bit, and I think with Turret
I'll agree
Wall,
with you. I like the card. I just don't know how I like him in the deck. I think that like the Mirror Knight and Turret Wall combination is cute, but I don't know if I like it as far as the way the deck runs. I don't know. Maybe it's good enough. I guess it does give him that effect permanently.
Well, if you look at a deck though, like every troop in a deck except for like Charge Bot and the Genius, like it gives the bonus to. So all the Groks, the Turret Walls, the Buccaneers, the Walker, the Terrabot. So I mean, it's pretty strong, and it's a 2/3. So
Yeah, I just feel like Mirror Knight works better whenever there's a 4-drop to come after him. You know what I mean? And like I feel like a lot of the cards that you're talking about are 5-drops, so it's like you have to play him out on turn 3, or even wait till turn 4, I guess, and play him. But
I think the best play with Mirror Knight, or at least one of the best plays, is to just be like play Buccaneer. Give him the Inspire from Mirror Knight and bounce your best guy. But I mean, even if you wait to play Buccaneer on turn, I guess it'd be 5. Like it's still fine because on turn 4 you'd play your Terrabot or like maybe even like another Mirror Knight, and then you play the Buccaneer, and things really start to get out of hand. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's fine, but I'd have to test it, I guess.
Sure. I don't know. I'd probably cut like the Mirror Knight, the Wall, the Interconflict, and maybe try to mess around with some red cards. Put some red cards in there. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's definitely another way to go.
If it was me, and that's. Yeah, no, I understand. I understand that Turtle Wall is auto damage, Shad, and like I get it. Like, and I think the combo between the Mirror Knight and the Turtle Wall is really cool. Like, I really think that's really neat. I'm just saying, like, moving on, I think I had tried red in last cut. Great. I'm just like, in my opinion, I think red's going to suit you a little bit better. Chad, trying to win the people over. I just personally don't.
I think it's a cool idea, but whatever.
All right, cool. All right, guys. But yeah, seriously though, I think that running some red, in my opinion, will make the deck a little more consistent. I don't know. I think there's gonna be times where like this Mirror Knight's not gonna do anything, or that Mirror Knight in your hand, and I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna be kind of awkward. I like the card. Don't get me wrong. It draws a card. We talked about this. Yeah, exactly. Like Elimination Specialist is really cool.
Yeah, he's good. I like him.
I like him a lot. I think he's cool.
He's a good man.
He's a good guy. Always there for you. Always dealing one whenever he wants. Right. All right. So we'll get into the what was it? What do we do next? Oh, the archetypes. So I'm gonna actually knock out of here. Go back to our old. That's wrong too. Here we go. All right, John Tad. So what we want to talk about here, one of our big things we want to talk about this episode was, hey, Chad, anytime, man. I'm sorry. What we'll do actually, whenever Alpha comes out, and we'll do this first with you, by the way, is we'll actually play some games. for like either I'll play the deck versus John, or John will play the deck versus me. In some way, we'll do that, and we'll play with your deck, and we'll do your deck first, and we'll go through and do what we talked about, like kind of what we did right now. We'll be like, maybe we should try red, maybe we should try these cards, and then we'll kind of give you our opinions on how they worked out during the game.
Yeah, and ideally we'll have 2 decks that were made by our viewers,
exactly.
so we can play each of them, like versus the other one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that's one of the big things we're gonna do. I already bet John's big red control 3 times in a row. Oh shit! Are you shit talking already?
You want to go?
Do you want to fight? Shad, I can't save you, man. You made the Shaggy Bus, but I can't save you, man. Like, if you unleash the fury of Tata, he likes to battle. Like, if Pokemon was a real thing, he'd be that asshole outside the gym just, like, wanting to shit on you, like, all the time. Like, I think I'm going to poop on that Squirtle there. Let me show you this. Alright, so what we want to talk about now is we want to really talk about the different archetypes. Because I feel like a lot of times we talk about stuff in the show. I noticed this during...
Wait, Pokemon's not real?
Pokemon is real. Like, it's a real thing. But we, like, I think it was 2 shows ago, we started talking about, like, different decks we would build as a team. And I noticed there's a lot of people in chat being like, what's tempo? What's mid-range? So I wanted to really kind of talk to you guys about what the different archetypes are, and then what decks that we think will be good as soon as Alpha goes live. That way, you guys will kind of know where to start. So the first thing that I always like to say, and actually, I think Tata was the one that me and him kind of talked about this. Not only is Pokemon not real, there is no TV show or game or cards. Those do not exist. Sure, there is actually a TV show though. So.
And it's real.
And it's real. So anyway, aggro is always very, very strong when the format first starts, right, John? Like, I know if you guys play Magic at all, that in October the sets are about to rotate out, and of course Mono Red is always good. I think Mono Red always places high in states every year because it's always just really good. So John, why don't you talk a little bit about why aggro is strong when a format first starts, and what decks you think will be good and the aggro side of things?
Well, there's many reasons why it's the best deck at first. Some of the main reasons are that a lot of people try to mess around with decks like Shad's, for instance, and where they might be a little slower and they might think that they're good against aggro, but then once they play, they're like, oh shit, like my deck's really not that good against aggro. Like, your opponent played 1 drop on turn 1 and then 1 drop on turn 2, and then you're like, well, now I'm face down 3 creatures and I can't do anything. That's one of the reasons people just try to play these mid-range decks to try out maybe some different ideas that just don't really pan out. Another reason is that it's just a very consistent deck. Like, every card in the deck is in there for a reason, and they all basically do damage. So it's just super consistent, and they just come right at you and can really do 20 damage to you very quickly.
Sure.
So it's just typically it's just a very solid deck to start off with, just mainly for that reason. Now, once the format starts to evolve into better mid-range decks, even control decks can be the faster decks if they evolve in the right way. But as the format gets more mature, then the faster decks might not be as powerful.
Sure.
So.
And I think it's really important to understand too that aggro decks. A lot of times people always think that aggro decks lose to board wipes. I know almost everyone I've always talked to are like, there's a lot of board wipes in this set. I don't think aggro is going to be as good. But that's not the case. Aggro loses to high toughness creatures and any kind of sustainability by your opponent. For example, Gideon and Magic was a lot tougher for aggro than a board wipe, for example. Things like that, these the turret we talked about, an 05, that is something that can actually just stop aggro from doing damage, because it's very easy to ping them down to one creature and then sit there and keep blocking. And by that time they've usually run out of gas. So there has to be a lot of those things that kind of stop aggro from doing their damage. And the type of decks that always do that and are very good against aggro are mid-range decks. Correct, John? So can you talk a little bit about what are mid-range decks?
Mid-range decks are essentially decks that just have a bunch of a bunch of value cards in them. They cost between the 2 and 6 range, and every card that they play has an impact on the board. That's typically what a mid-range deck is. It plays very few 1-drops, even very few 2-drops a lot of time that aren't just removal spells. But everything, most of the troops cost 3 or more, and they all have value written all over them. For example, it's a troop that comes into play and kills something. Uh, you know, a Vampire King, just cards like that.
Sure. Oh yeah. Vampire King is like an aggro killer. Comes in, kill your guy, get a 2/2 flyer. Block your guy, kill your guy, now get another 2/2 flyer. Like that's something aggro decks. Because to beat an aggro deck, all you have to do is just run them out of cards. You have to run them out of fuel, essentially.
Yeah, and like he was saying about board wipes. Like a smart player won't just be like, okay, here's all my troops. There, go. And then they'll get board wiped and they'll probably lose.
Sure.
What a smart player will do is they'll put out 2 or 3 troops, keep beating down the opponent. If they deal with them, they'll just keep playing more. So, like, you never just run out of gas, unless they board wipe, 3 times.
Sure.
But, you just have to be smart with your cards and just try to, try to figure out what the value of your cards are, like compared to, theirs. So.
Kata actually writes value on all his mid-range creatures with a Sharpie before a tournament.
Yes.
Do you actually do that?
No.
No.
Although I should.
You should. Okay, Shad, you say, is that true in both constructed and limited formats? I'm not sure what you mean by that, buddy.
In limited format,
I see what you say. Okay.
I don't think that there's an aggro deck per se in limited. I mean, there is, but it's much harder to draft because typically 2 1s for 1 aren't that good. So, but if you can build a deck that has 4 or 5, Savage Raiders, Savage Raider type cards, 1-drop 2 1s, then maybe, you could pull it off. But I don't like drafting, 1-drops in draft. I just don't like doing it. I don't think that they're very good.
So why do you think 2 1s aren't good in draft? 2 1s for 1 are not good in draft.
They get outclassed by your opponent's 3-drops mainly. And constructed, you can build your deck that has, burn spells and a bunch of removal to clear the way for your 1-drops. However, in draft, a lot of time you just end up with a bunch of 2 1s for 1, and then your opponent plays a 2/3, and you're like, well, shit.
Or let's say the 2-drop 1/3, right? It was in Shad's deck, right? You just drop that down turn 2, and you're like,
yeah. Or even if they play an 0/3 or an 0/4, then you just sit there and you can't really do anything. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does.
But as you draft, you'll learn. Now, don't get me wrong. There are decks that you can draft that just have like I said, 5 or 6 1-drops, 5 or 6 2-drops with some spells that deal damage and some cheap removal spells, and you'll just steamroll your opponent. But I just try to stay away from drafting those decks. I just don't think they're much harder to fall into place than just a regular solid deck.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Chad. So basically, we talked about aggro is always really strong at the beginning of a format. So when you guys get an alpha, shoot for aggro. Aggro is very good. There's no shame in playing it. It's a very viable strategy at the start. A lot of players win states every year in Magic because they just play mono red and fucking turn cards sideways and beat you. There's nothing you can do about it. John gets second place to it every year. And then the next step up is mid-range decks, right? That's the decks that a lot of people like playing. I enjoy mid-range decks as well. They're really fun. They're very some good mid-range cards are like Huntmaster, right? That's a pretty good mid-range card.
Yeah,
right?
like in Magic, if you played Magic, there's cards like Huntmaster of the Fells. It's a 4-cost 2/2 that when he comes into play, you gain 2 life and make a 2/2 wolf. So for 4 mana, you're gaining 2 life and getting 4 power, worth of creatures. Now he had other effects too, but that was the main one that was really played.
Sure.
There's also a card like Thragtusk.
Yeah.
He came into play and you gained 5 life, and he's a 5/3. And if they killed him, you got a 3/3. So, or even if he just left play at all, you got a 3/3. So cards like that are just complete value cards, and what they are just the poster people of value.
Yeah. So in Hex, what we're seeing is Vampire King is very mid-rangey. He comes into play, has the potential to give you tons of value. Every time you kill something, boom, boom. I don't know very many mid-rangey cards. I'm trying to think. See, Zombie Plague is kind of mid-range, I guess. Kind of get some value out of it, maybe. I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. There's not very many creatures that come in and do a really good effect and give you something.
Most of them are blood and wild. Most of the good troops are those shards for mid-range. For example, there's a 4-cost 2/4 I forget his name, but when he comes into play, I think he kills a troop that has
Oh yeah,
cost
you're
or
right.
power or
Yeah,
something 3 or less
yeah.
or
That
something.
guy's
But
really good. That guy's really good.
yeah, he's very very good. Of course, Vampire King's good.
Oh, got that card.
The wild troops that are socketed, like there's a 3 cost one that's pretty sweet, and then there's of course the 6 cost one that's very good. Um, yeah, just cards like that. They'll be all over the place. Like you'll see a ton of like blood and wild, like the mid range strategies with murders and value creatures like all over the place when the game first comes out.
Yeah. So a step up from mid range is control, right? It's just pure control, which basically takes mid range's strategy and kind of takes it's like the next level, I guess. They're like, we don't do anything for the first, instead of like maybe 1 or 2 turns, the first 5 turns, something like that. And they try to win by card advantage, right? Like they try to basically run you out of cards and drop some big threat and then control you from ever being able to kill it.
Yeah.
Sure. So, like, John, why don't you talk a little bit more about control, kind of what decks you think would be good in control, and kind of how it works?
So control, they also it's basically just a whole other deck full of value cards, but it's a bunch of different type of value cards. Like, so for example, you'll play a bunch of cheap early spells that do damage or kill troops, and then you also play, your board wipes, like say Extinction. So what you're aiming to do is pack your deck full of like 5 and 6 cost troops as finishers. Like say you have 2 or 3 finishers, and then you'll just have a bunch of spells like Extinction, a bunch of draw spells, just cards that overall just control the pace of the game.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to control the pace of the game, make it so you have tons of cards. Blue-black control and Magic is always the big poster boy of control. They have, you play something, cool, kill it. I'll draw a card. Like, okay, I'll play another guy. Cool, kill it, draw a card. And it's like, crap. Like, you can never kind of get ahead.
Right.
So, like, then we kind of move into the what I call the specialty archetypes, and these are kind of archetypes that are their own thing, but they're also very important that we watch out for. One of the big ones being combo. So combo kind of does its own thing. It's kind of a hybrid, it does multiple things. But the big thing that combo does is it tries to get, in my opinion, like 3 or less cards together to make some kind of combo that will kill you. And obviously that's not like an official statement, but to me anything over 3 cards is not combo. It's just very wishful thinking. I don't know if you agree with that, John, or not, but
yeah, I mean basically,
yeah,
like if it takes more than 3 cards to do it, it's probably not worth it.
Yeah, it really is. It's really hard to do. So an example of that would be like Splinter Twin and Magic. I haven't seen any kind of love blood. I haven't seen any kind of combo-y decks yet. Those decks usually take a little while to come out, right? That's not something that usually is released. I don't think game designers really like to make combos in their games. Every time that there's a combo that comes out, you always hear game designers talking about how upset they are that happened. And
yeah,
I don't think
combo decks are a really slippery slope. Like everyone wants combo decks to exist because they're fun, but nobody wants combo decks to be so like degenerate that they just win the game.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a really slippery slope and a fine line there, to be like Eye of Creation is probably the closest that we're going to get to like combo in the early stages of the game. But that's not to say that later in the game, if they'll be like, okay, cool, here's this 3-card combo that if you do it, you can have like 100 1/1s or something.
Yeah, and like that's what I was going to say too. I'm glad you brought that up. Is that like usually whenever game designers make combos in their deck, in their game, they're usually really terrible, right? You get like the whole like what was that combo in like Magic? It was like get the staffs and there was the staff and the crown and the throne and like all this shit.
Sure,
and
yeah.
It's like really bad, but like if you get them all together, then it's like kind of not bad, but still kind of bad. Yeah. So like that's usually what game designers usually do with their combos. True combo decks are usually a loophole in the system, and usually happens over the course of multiple sets. So with this being only one set, it's going to be very rare for someone to find some retarded broken combo, and if they do, it will for surely get fixed before the game goes live. In my opinion, like I'm not saying that's for sure what's going to happen, but I don't think that there is going to be a big combo presence in the first set of Hex. So,
yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, the second type of deck we went through combo is Ramp. Right, Ramp is another kind of specialty deck type.
Ramp is typically just like a mid-range deck. more or less.
Sure.
That just happens to have, ramp spells. It's like a mid-range control hybrid.
Exactly. Good. That's the cool thing about these kind of deck types is they're kind of hybrids and they kind of do
Yeah,
different
sure.
things. But like, yeah, so basically your goal in these decks is to cheat turns, right? So like on your turn 3, on your opponent's turn 3, you want to be like on turn 5 or 6 in mana or something.
Right.
That's an example of ramping. So there's plenty of ramp cards. We've seen a lot of them already spoiled. I think there's 3 or 4.
Well, there's the Hex Engine, the artifact that taps for 2. That's one of the better ones. There's also Chlorophylla, which is also one of the better ones. Those are probably the 2 best. Like I know there's Concu Bunny. Like I think that's another ramp spell if you're playing Shinhair or something. Then there's a few other borderline cards that ramp you, but the better ones are definitely Hex Engine and Chlorophylla.
Yeah, for sure. The Chlorophylla is actually absurd. I don't think people understand how that card gives you 2 turns, and that's really borderline OP in a card game.
It's very powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful effect. So I know there's a card in Hearthstone, for example, that I've been playing a lot with. That is a 0 cost gain 2 mana for the turn, and that card's really good. Like that's borderline broken. If you play a lot of high end cards in your deck, and then on turn 3 or 4, you can bust out 6 or 7 drop cards. That's pretty devastating for some people. Some decks just can't even deal with it. They only have a card that can come out enough time to deal with it.
Yeah.
So those decks are very powerful. I know. In the last 2 formats of Magic, ramp decks have done very well. We've had the Wolf Run type decks.
Yeah, we had Titan ramp decks, and then of
Valakut.
course the old, and then Jund, the current best mid range deck, plays 4 Farseeks, which is basically like 1/2 of Chlorophylla.
Yeah. So ramp is always very powerful, very strong. So it's very tough to deal with too. A lot of Eldrazi Green. That was in like a Zendikar, right? Was that a Zendikar deck?
Yeah.
Yeah. They used Overgrown Battlements or whatever. Was that what that card was called?
Yeah, had that.
Yeah. So those decks are very scary to play against, especially for newer players. They're used to their friends being like, here's a 1-drop on 1/1 turn 1, ha ha ha, and then you're sick. Turn 4, 8-drop. What are you gonna do about it? And they're just what?
Yeah, the Eldrazi ramp deck was kind of I don't know. It was really weird. I wouldn't it was certainly like a ramp deck, but it also kind of played more like a combo deck than anything else.
Sure.
That deck was able to play turn 4 Emrakuls, off of summoning traps. It was pretty sick.
Yeah,
that's
deck is very scary for sure.
Yeah.
And I played against the old damn boils and many a FNM.
Yeah.
It's very terrifying. And the last specialty deck that I'll talk about before we start getting into the actual meat and bones of the show is tempo / aggro control. To me, they're the same thing. I know people don't like to usually classify them in the same thing, but I think they're literally almost identical. And basically, these decks are very similar to Delver, Callblade, Fairies, those type of decks. Actually, the archetype of tempo is literally just Sapphire right now. If you just look at if you just look at Sapphire currently, that is tempo. And basically what tempo does is play a lot of low cost creatures and control the board off those low life creatures and just try to beat you with them. So they might play a 1-drop, a 2-drop, maybe a really powerful 3-drop, and then just set back on counter spells and bounce spells and just make it so you can never stop them from attacking you over and over again.
Yeah.
Hey, Beauty, what's up, man? Welcome to the show. Those are by far my favorite type of deck to play, and the reason why they are is because they're so delicate. A lot of times you'll just draw your cards and look at it and be like, I win, ha ha ha, and then you'll misplay once and just lose. It's very you can lose by just misplaying once. So I always learn so much every time I play those decks. I really do. So, Tata, what's your opinion on aggro control / tempo decks?
I'm a pretty big fan of tempo decks. They're also quite good against the faster decks as well, just because you're able to set them back a turn by bouncing their 2-drop for example with Buccaneer, and also being able to block their 1 and 2 drops to trade. Plus they have cheap answers like cheap bounce spells, just cheap threats. They're usually pretty good. I really like the decks like that. Yeah, pretty big fan.
Me too. I think another cool thing about Tempo to keep in mind too is they're traditionally the strongest deck in the format, but they're also very hard. Like they usually don't crop up until a couple sets have been out. They require a lot of cards to be good.
Yeah,
so.
like what happens is that the Tempo decks, to be good, they have to find a way to beat aggro. So once they find a way to beat aggro, then they start getting to be much more popular.
Sure.
So
yeah, like for Delver, it was like Gut Shot and Middle Misstep and Paper Snap. This card they could easily defeat. Also, just Delver itself, a 3/2 flyer for 1, was very easy to just outrace aggro. You could. But anyway, so that's kind of the archetypes. That's the 6 archetypes we'll talk about. The 3 main ones and then the 3 hybrid ones. This is how I like to break down card games. Of course, there's many other types. I'm sure someone come up with like Reanimator, for example. Like, sure, but like in my opinion, that's just a combo deck.
Yeah, it's a combo deck.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so we'll kind of go over basically. We're going to bring up all the decks from Gen Con and kind of tell you guys how we would classify the decks and how we would change them moving on to Alpha. How's that sound, Tada? Does that sound like a good closer of the show?
Sure.
All right, the best combo deck. Yeah, a lot. Like Sean is definitely a combo deck player. I will give him that. How would you how would you classify my deck? Shad asked. I would say mid range is how I would classify it.
Yeah, it's probably a mid range deck. Somewhat tempo oriented with the the Buccaneers and Grolks. So definitely mid range tempo. Like I like the deck. I mean, I think it's pretty good. So we'll have to mess around with it when Alpha comes out and see what we can do with it.
For sure. All right. So the first deck was the mono black deck, John. I mean, you had we went into Gen Con. We had this like, you thought it was the worst deck on the list, and I liked it because it was mono black. But I agree with you. I thought it was pretty bad. And then we got to Gen Con, and it was like I think it was the first deck I played. No, I played the Inspire deck, the first deck I played. But I played mono black versus Sean. Me and him both played it, and what happened was the deck itself had a lot of bugs. So like Bone Warrior didn't work. There's I think one of the Life Siphons didn't work. I mean, it was like there's a couple things that didn't work in the deck. But moving forward with Mono Black, obviously it's a control deck.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think are some changes you would make to Mono Black? Like the first one I could think of is just put Diamond in with it. Like no longer make it.
Well, you could probably still play Mono Black. You have to have a little bit more control of the game. Like, for example, I think you definitely want Extinction, probably. I mean, maybe that's not right, but Extinction seems like it would fit.
I like Extinction.
With the amount of removal that you have access to, I think that Vampire King might be worth it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like Vampire King. That card,
yeah.
I think that's going to be one of the key cards moving on to the format, just so you guys will know. Because I really do think that Vampire King will take over Alpha. Like, that's just my prediction so far. But I think that will be the card that just starts destroying people.
He'll be pretty good for sure. That's also because of cards like the 4-drop that we were talking about earlier. The 2/4 that when he comes into play, he kills something.
Oh, yeah.
To play him and kill your opponent's troop and get a 2/2 vampire, out of it is just pretty insane.
Yeah, it's all in the same color too. It's all in blood, so that's gonna fit pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I would do. I try to take it down like a different direction and cut like some of the random cards they have. Like they were playing like Zentos Chosen, I think was in there. Sean Carroll's favorite card, and just a few cards that just didn't do anything. Like Corpse Harvester, I think, was in there. I'm not really a big fan of it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna ever talk anything bad against Zentos Chosen because he is the best card in the game. I think that's one card that I was really surprised to see in the not surprised, but I'll kind of want your info about. What do you think about Giant Corpse Fly in Standard? The 3-drop 1/1 discard.
I think Giant Corpse Fly is pretty good. Like I have no problem with that guy. He's a man.
You think he's the man? So why is he good in Hex, and why is similar cards like him pretty bad in Magic?
I don't think cards like him are bad in Magic. I mean, there's a card called Liliana's Spectre.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about.
which was a 2/1, and I mean that card saw play. So I mean, like I don't think he's bad.
All right. I think that this card is such a powerful effect. Like it actually has.
This card's awesome.
Yeah, it has the potential. And what was like people say like it was one of the most OP cards of all time in Magic. It's like
Mind Twist.
Yeah, Mind Twist. That's it. It's like pay X and their opponent discards that many cards or something.
Yeah.
Like
Mind
the
Twist,
fuck?
Hem the Turok, which is discard 2 at random. Like cards like that.
Yeah,
like this card is Black's form of control. So they don't have counter spells. Instead, they just have discard spells.
Sure.
So
yeah,
and like I would be very surprised if there wasn't more discard in this game. Once we see more cards, like for example, we might see some sort of like Thoughtseize or Duress, so just like something like that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so like I mean, I'm a little torn on the Giant Corpse Fly. I think obviously if you can play him out in some way where you make your opponent discard a card and you can still like block with him to kill another troop or something, like you've just got extreme value out of him, sure. But I'm not feeling him too much. I think people are just gonna kind of ignore it. But I think it definitely has potential. Cruel Web Crawler I think is another really neat card.
Yeah, it's fine. Like I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm willing to at least try it out and test it, see if it like either over or underperforms.
Yeah, sure. I like him. I think he's neat. There's also the life gain card. What's his name? Corrupted Harvester. I think that card's not terrible. I like to see.
Is he the
4-drop 3/3 that can't be blocked? Has fear basically.
The fear, yeah. Kind of like him.
I do too. I think he's neat. So.
No, I'm saying I don't like him.
Oh, you don't like him? Oh.
Not really.
I like him. I think he's good. 4-drop 3/3. I think it's a good sideboard card versus aggro.
Maybe. He might be too slow, but we'll see.
True. I guess he has a 4-drop. It kind of fucks up your extinction too, maybe. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I like the card. There's a lot of cool cards. There's what's not Life Siphon, but maybe it's Life Siphon. Let me check.
Terrible Transfer.
Yeah, Terrible Transfer. That card's awesome. I think that card's like another good card versus aggro. I wish it wasn't 5-drop though. I just realized it's 5-drop. Fuck. It's actually. Is it just Troop? Yeah, it is just Troop.
Yeah, it's just Troop. Man, if it was anything, that'd be so good.
Yeah, that's why I actually thought it was at the beginning, but cool. So, Pact of Pain, what do you think about that card? I know you've had a chance to play with it a little bit. I've had a chance to play with it. What do you think about the old Pact of Pain?
I like it. I'm a pretty big fan of it. Have to find the right deck for it. I think Mono Black is probably the deck for it, or even Black White.
Yeah.
So.
I like it in Black White too. There's a lot of life gain in both those. The thing about control too that's really important. I know we didn't touch on this when we talked about control. Is they really don't want to ever miss their land drop.
Yeah.
It really sucks if you miss your land drop. So like cards like Pact of Pain are very good because they actually make it so if you have to, you can pay 2 to make sure you don't miss your land drop. Get that extra.
Which
card.
is also why that champion is so good. The one that you pay 4 charges and lose 2 life and draw a card.
Yeah.
Like that guy's really good, mainly for that reason, because you can essentially make sure that you hit your 5th land drop with that.
Yeah, which is the most important land drop, by the way. Like I think is going to that's like that's your extension. That's your extinction land drop, right? And what else is that? There's another card I was going to talk about. I can't remember which.
I'm sure there's more cards, but like mainly for extinction and just to keep your deck going.
Sure. All right, so that's kind of the mono black deck. Kind of some changes that we would suggest moving into alpha with this card. Of this deck. The cool thing about this list that we're going through, guys, by the way, is Cryptozoic's done actually a pretty good job making some starter decks for us. So we can really take these lists and really build off them in alpha. And that's kind of what I would suggest you guys doing too, because by doing that, you can kind of see what cards are strong and what cards aren't strong. So, especially if you're new. But yeah, also while we're on the topic, I would definitely change the champion to the take 2 life and draw a card. I don't know what champion that is, but I think that's a better fit for the deck than the.
They're using the one where I think for 2 charges you deal 1 and gain 1.
Yeah, that's his. Yeah, but I'm saying I would change that.
Which is not bad.
It's not bad. I would like it better if it was deal 1 damage to champion or creature. That'd be so cool. Okay, so moving on to the Shinhair deck. I know you had a deck garage about the Shinhair deck. If you guys want to know a lot about the Shinhair deck, you can go check out John's last deck garage that's on the website. But real quick, once you run through the Shinhair deck, what you think of it going into alpha?
The Shinhair deck that was at Gen Con wasn't very good.
It was terrible.
Yeah, like it wasn't playing most of the key Shinhair troops, and it played like several copies of the Mushwaki and like a few other cards. The deck just wasn't very good. And I know a lot of people had a lot of fun with it, which is cool because the deck is fun. But it's not it wasn't very good. But I think though that Shinhair can be very good if you play the right troops.
The men of the film from the Living Caller saying hated it. So I popped up John's Shinhair deck here real quick. And here's the kind of, if you guys want to check it out, here's some of the cards he ran. I'll go through them real quick. But this is kind of John's suggestion of like the best Shinhair aggro deck moving forward. I like Runts a lot. I think not Runts, I'm so sorry. Wretched Brood is going to be the big key to this deck. It's either going to be really good or really bad, I think. I don't think there's like an in-between with Wretched Brood. I think that's going to be one card that we're going to have to play around with a lot. I actually love the card, Wretched Brood. I'm really excited to see it moving on to Alpha. It's one other than Zombie Plague, it's like one of my other cards I really can't wait to play with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, if you guys really want to know about a lot about Shinhair, you guys can check out this deck tech on John's stuff. So moving on to the next deck was the what is this? The mono red deck, which we both think is going to be really good. So.
Yeah, the mono red deck, it's like we were saying earlier, it'll be one of the most popular decks right off the bat, and mainly for the reason that A, it is good, and B, it's just very very easy to play and probably build. So kind of built itself. Like I think the one at Gen Con was very good, and like I probably wouldn't change too many cards from the way that it was.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I agree. It's very powerful. I know Dusty made a version on what I think it was a show 2 nights ago that you guys might want to check out. I don't have the deck list on me, but if you guys want to go back a couple shows and watch it, it was very good. A very powerful deck. The only changes I can see coming to I think the 2 aggro decks we're going to be the most concerned about is the mono red deck and the red black aggro deck with like the
sure.
What's that card called? The badass black card. It's like when it dies, you can either take X amount of life, or I forget what it was, and then like
blood harbinger.
That's it. Yeah, that card's going to be pretty scary.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, so moving on to the this is one of the decks that you liked a lot, the life gain deck.
Yeah, I really like that deck. Like I know a lot of people think it might be a little inconsistent, and it might be, but I think it's very powerful. I can do some pretty sick things. The totem card, living totem or whatever it's called, is very good, and a lot of people I think underestimate it.
Yeah, that card's actually, I'm actually pop it up here. That card's actually absurd.
Yeah, I think it's the best card in the deck, but also the paladin can also get out of hand pretty quickly.
For sure. The paladin's actually really cool. So the whole point of this deck though is just to gain life, and then the paladin keeps getting bigger.
Yeah, and it gains a ton of life.
I'll take the card out of this deck that I was the most. Let me find it here real quick. I was the most impressed with. I'm trying to see where he is. I don't think is it this one.
The armor card.
Yeah, the Chimera Guard Outrider or whatever.
Yeah.
That guy's actually absurd. Like
him with that armor card was pretty insane.
Oh my god, this guy was and he doesn't seem that scary, but then all of a sudden he has fucking 14 defense and is hitting you for 14 every turn. Sean just obliterated me with this guy.
I was playing against I was going to say Sean, but maybe it was Dusty, but I'm pretty sure it was Sean. That I played 2 of them on one of them, and it was like a 17 defense troop that I just attacked for 17 with, and then every other turn I can give him lifelink, and it my life total was at 60, and it's there's no way that I would ever possibly lose that game.
Yeah, this guy's just really good.
So yeah,
I actually like him a lot. Let me actually look at him real quick. What drop is he? Is he a 4-drop?
Yeah, he's a 4-drop 04.
Yeah, so I think that's really good. Wasn't me. Sean's like, it wasn't me you beat.
All right. Well, it was one of you noobs. I certainly won that game.
Well, it wasn't me because you said you won. I don't know. I beat you every game we played there, so I don't know what you're talking about. Moving on to the dwarf deck, the dwarf artifact deck. You played the mono red against me when I played this diamond deck. Sean says.
Whatever.
What do you think about the artifact dwarf deck?
I liked it for flavor wise, and it was a fun deck to play, but it was missing a lot of cards that you'd probably want to play. So maybe once we get more access to cards, or access to more cards rather, we'd be able to to fix that deck a little bit.
Yeah, I think the key to the deck is obviously what's it called? Volcanon.
Volcanon, yeah. That card was insane. There was turns where you could Volcan your opponent for 15.
The problem I have with this deck, I'm gonna be honest with you, there's a couple cards you can change. A lot of this deck is it builds itself, and the only way we can change it is by seeing the new cards. So I'm not going to go too far into that. But the thing I hated the most about this deck was it was painful to not only go through the setup and play it, but to play against it and wait for your opponent to click through all those triggers.
Yeah,
and all those
it's so frustrating when like you're dead. Your opponent has a Volcanion in play with like 6 troops, and it's like you can't really you can't do anything about it, and they're just like click Volcanion, click troop, tap Volcanion, click troop, untap Volcanion. Like the triggers on it were just so frustrating to play against, and even play with. But it is what it is, and it is a Volcanion deck, and there will certainly be a Volcanion deck in the format. So
I agree. I think Volcanion's kind of like the closest I think that we've seen to maybe reliable like combo deck. You know what I mean? I can see some combos went off of Volcanion or whatever.
Yeah.
So the Inspire deck. I will say that I think if aggro becomes very good or like overtaking the format, this Inspire deck will be one of the better decks because it has. It's very malleable versus aggro. It has a lot of high toughness creatures, and it does very well with Legionnaire to just clear the board out and just one-shot you. So I think the deck will do very good. Now, if Control gets really good, I can see this deck maybe not being as good. But the reason I say that is because I think the deck is so weak to board wipes. But like Blessing the Fallen or whatever is actually like kind of its way to come back from board wipes. So I think the deck is pretty good. I think it just requires. I think it's the least consistent deck out of all the decks. I'll say that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like if you get your 1-drop into 2-drop all the way up to 5-drop, you'll probably poop on a lot of people. But the problem is like that's not for sure. There's no like way to guarantee that you're going to get those cards. There's no like cheaters or even that good at draw spells that we've seen. So I think the deck has potential to be powerful, but it has the consistency against it. So.
Yeah.
So the black red deck, we're not going to talk too much about. The big thing they need to change is put the Harbingers in there. I mean, that's going to be...
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing as mono red, except like you're losing some consistency for some power. So
yeah, for sure. And the last deck we'll talk about is the mono Sapphire deck, which is my favorite deck. I had a blast playing that. Thunderbird was awesome. I know there was a post in the forums I was reading, and someone said, Thunderbird's not that good. Like, he's a 1/1 flyer for 2. And it's like, I think this card has potential to be, I'm not going to say Delver, but it has potential to be very, very strong.
I mean, people who think Thunderbird is not good, like, they are not people that I want to know. So, like, that card is really good.
No, so real quick, explain to me, like, I'm one of those guys. Hey, John, Thunderbird's terrible. It's a 1/1 flyer for 2, bro.
You're dead to me.
I mean, it convinced me. Why is Thunderbird good? What makes him good? Explain to it.
The fact that he gets bigger every time you turn him sideways. Like, sure, it's a 2-drop 1/1 flyer. Got me. But every time you turn that guy sideways, he gets bigger by 1. So on turn 3, when he attacks, he's a 2/1. And chances are your opponent is not going to have a flyer out. And even if they do, you can bounce it with,
Buccaneer.
like Buccaneer or something. Like, the guy is pretty much always going to be good. So, like, he's insane, I think, in Standard, and I think he's also very, very good in any sort of limited format.
Yeah, and so, like, Thunderbird, by the way, guys, in case you guys were a little confused about the tempo, like, Thunderbird is the poster boy of tempo. He's the guy that's like, I'll play this guy on turn 2. Yes. Next turn, I'll attack you. He'll gain 1. I'll hit you for 2. If you play a blocker, I'll bounce it with Buccaneer and attack you again. And you just keep making it so they can't play something. Like, I'll play this 3/3 flying blocker. It's like, counterspell it, attack you again.
Exactly.
Like,
you counterspell it. Just things like that. Or you bounced again with some other bounce spell or, like...
Exactly. Like,
something like that. But, like, you're going to be able to, like, actually hit with that guy several times. And if you attack with them, or hit your opponent with them, like, 3 times, so that's already, 2, 5, 9 damage off 3 attacks. Like, that's half their life total just by attacking with them 3 times and bouncing their cards. Like,
yeah, Shad, exactly.
That's insane.
You have Time Ripple, you have Buccaneer. Not to mention the I don't know what his name is, but like the jellyfish thing that, like, once a game you can bounce a spell like that's played. That just further protects them. Like, there's just tons of ways to protect them. What's it called? Void something. Yeah, you're right.
Void Leech Phantasm.
Yeah, Void Leech Phantasm. There it is. John Tana busting it out.
Hey, I know the quite a few of my favorite cards. I know their card names, but for the most part.
What do you think about the where's this guy at? The Ancestors Chosen in this deck.
I like that guy quite a bit. That's another really good tempo card. So I mean, you're filling your deck with a bunch of 2/2 1-drops that cantrip. So that's what you want to be doing.
Yeah, you're right, Sean. The holster doesn't quite like this guy, but I think it's because he had 20 or 22 cards in his deck that were the
we kept playing and he beat me. So instead of just conceding or letting him do the final damage to me, instead we passed back and forth until he was able to draw one, and he had 2 of them in play. So each turn he was making 4, and I think he had 28 of them in his deck, before he finally was able to draw one.
Sure.
So there are going to be cards like that where you just get hosed by the RNG, but at the same time though, that doesn't mean you shouldn't play the card.
Yeah, for sure. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to kind of close out here real quick. Do you still want to do that Garuda fight?
Let's do it. Let's see. I don't know if I have time this evening. But like I said, I'm free all weekend. So
okay.
If anyone wants to watch us play Final Fantasy, we'll be max level this weekend, and we could run some dungeons or something.
Yeah, we wanted to do something for you guys to show you guys Final Fantasy. Let me pop it back up here. We've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy, the new Final Fantasy 14, or Realm Reborn is the actual official name. We wanted to show you guys the game and kind of because we're big gamers at heart. And we really wanted to show you guys kind of our experience on the MMO side of things. We've said here, we've told you guys how our experience at card games, but Hex is going to have an MMO aspect of it as well. So we really kind of wanted to show you our experience at that. And we also just want to kind of show you guys the game because the game's fucking awesome anyway. The game's actually really cool. So that's something that we wanted to do as well. But I think we're going to wait. Like I said, we were going to do it at the end of the show, but we kind of planned on the show being done at 10 and then doing it till 10:30. But we kind of ran over on the show because of the mic issues and me just being bad. So I'm sorry. I kind of ruined it. But yeah, we'll probably play some. We'll post them on Facebook when we're going to play. We'll just kind of talk it over and we'll do a little demo because we'll be max level then, and then we can actually just show you guys some of the dungeons and some of the boss fights because they were really, really cool. It's actually a really good game.
Yeah, the game is really pretty. All the graphics are awesome.
Sure.
If you're a fan of Final Fantasy in general, like the lore and everything, it's all in this game. It's really cool. I really like the game quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really good. Shad says Math doesn't like holster. I'm gonna tell you what, you don't know how right you are. The guy needed to roll a 4 on altogether a D40 and got a 3. The guy is very unlucky when it comes to math. But real quick, do we have any articles coming up on the website, John, or anything coming up on the website as far as?
I think it'll be pretty slow this week. Don't have a whole lot planned. I think we're just kind of waiting for alpha. Once even next week, I might do something for Monday. I'll do a deck garage maybe. But
okay.
Like I said, everything won't really pick back up into full swing until we can get into alpha.
Yeah, that's the big thing right now. We're just kind of waiting for alpha. You can tell that Cryptozoic themselves are kind of waiting for alpha. So that's kind of the big thing that's going on with that right now. So we're kind of a little slow ourselves. I know that one thing I wanted to kind of announce is as soon as alpha goes live, which is supposed to be on a Tuesday, it's supposed to be October 8th on a Tuesday, I will start my Hex dailies, which will basically be Monday through Thursday, a daily show. Where I'll talk about something for maybe at least a half an hour about something, like a deck tech, talking about doing drafts, going over new cards, whatever. I'll just do a 30-minute show about something on Hex. That will start as soon as the game goes live. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have no idea how much it means to us. Once again, of you guys being here and watching our show. We really apologize for kind of the slow content. I really do want to apologize for that. Tata, are you going to WVU game this weekend?
No. I go to maybe 1 or 2 games a year, these days. So I'll wait until it is Oklahoma State. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, not looking good. Could
Like
be a slaughter.
I live very close to there, so I mean, it wouldn't take much to get me to actually go up. So, but they'll get slaughtered, and I don't like watching them get destroyed because I get mad.
Me neither. Me
So,
also, Master Fett says, also wondering how we will find out which 500 get in the first day.
okay, I don't have any idea how they're doing the invites. All I know is that if I don't get in on the first day, I will murder somebody.
Yeah, we will murder people if we don't get in. Hopefully we will. I have a feeling we probably will, but I don't know for sure. I don't know if we have to send an email out or what we need to do to make sure that happens. I don't know if we need to give something under the table to old Dan or something. We'll send John down, and make him give him a night he won't forget.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
All right, guys. They mentioned the possibility of by tier level. I think that's kind of I think that's okay. I think that's an okay way to do it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like,
it's kind of shady, but I don't think it's too bad.
Whatever. I won't make a big deal out of the first day, but like,
sure.
If I have to wait an entire week to play this game, like, I'm gonna be pretty mad.
I agree. That's probably a bad idea for them to do. Like, again, the first day is going to be hectic anyway, so I wouldn't be too upset if I don't get in the first day as well. But I would like to get in at least, especially since like I made sure those days were clear. So like I would really like to make sure I got in, but we'll see what happens. I already know I'll be sick that day. I hear you, man. I hear you. So, all right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry for the little bit of technical difficulties John caused at the start of the show. We apologize. I'll try to get this up on... Oh, shit. Did I remember to re-record this? Please. Oh, I did.
Yes, you did, yeah.
So we'll get this up on YouTube probably today at some point, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Also, I've also been asked. I stream at twitch.tv/ShaggyTV. And John, you stream at what?
Twitch TV, HTP_JTata.
Yeah, so...
Which it should be right below in Dusty's
it is.
info.
It is.
Yeah.
So, like, the reason I'm doing this is it's for the YouTube watchers, by the way. They always ask, where do you stream? And I actually kind of forgot that you guys don't watch the show live. So, yeah, it's for me, it's Twitch TV/ShaggyTV. John, it's HTB, right? Or,
HTP_JTATTA.
Yeah. And if you can't find it, just go to my channel and under my profile, you can click the link. So definitely check that out. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching. You guys are rock stars with huge penises. So thank you all so much once again for watching. We'll see you guys probably, I would say, Saturday, maybe Sunday for like the for the Final Fantasy content.
Yeah,
I'm actually
all
off.
weekend long,
yeah, I'm
really.
actually off on Sunday completely. So we might just do like a little, marathon or something.
Marathon.
So, all right, guys, we'll see you later. Thanks again for watching.